Yeah. And it's interesting, the word iniquity in the Old Testament, the Hebrew word iniquity, comes from the word to distort or to twist. So the separation comes from a distortion in our thinking. You know, you are separated from God by the distortion in your mind. This is exactly what Paul said. You're alienated from the life of God that is in you. You're alienated in your mind because you believe something that's not true, which puts God over there somewhere, and you here and separate from God. So the alienation isn't that God has said, okay, well, they don't believe in me, so I'm out of here. It's that God is here, but I've said He's not.
Well, I think it's just the distraction of our thoughts. We're just so busy thinking our own thoughts.
Yes.
And it separates me from God.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know.
And I've tried to do what you suggest in the beginning of this book. And I don't know, I find it very hard to actually get apart from my thoughts and get beyond them.
It is. It is.
I'm hoping it clicks someday.
I know there's an analyzer. There's like two different personalities. One guy gets the idea or the little thought, and then another guy analyzes that thought.
Yes.
It's like
Got a team working on it.
yeah, it's like two different people. Like
Team in there, yeah.
no, why did you say that? Or what do you think about that?
Mm-hmm. Well, Paul talks about that. It says in Romans chapter 2, I think it is, where Paul's saying about those who do the law by nature, their thoughts accusing or excusing themselves. You know, they have this sort of team going on there saying, oh yeah, that was okay. No, that one wasn't good. And they're accusing or excusing their behaviors, but they're living by a law that's unconscious. Like Paul says, they do by nature the things that you guys know because it's written in the law, but they don't have it. But they somehow know instinctively, and all the while they're judging themselves.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something like past, present, future. Like there's one part of me that wants to think about what I'm going to do, another part that's thinking about what I'm doing, and the third one that's thinking about what I've done. Like I don't, you know, you can do it that way too. Like, yeah, why did I do that? Like, why did I do that thing? You know, that's kind of like just working through time. It's sort of like the same person, but you know, thinking about past, present, future. You know, that you could say that's three different people. You know, a person who looks ahead, looks at now, and looks at the past. Three different people. But I don't think it's that so much as another person just to bounce ideas off of, or critique, or try to improve. You know.
Well, you know, the word conscience in the New Testament, I don't remember the exact Greek word, but it's translated literally as co-perception. Well, in order to have co-perception, you have to have two states of consciousness that are working in cooperation. So it's kind of like a dual conscious state. Your conscience can accuse you or excuse you, and that's what it says. So it can't be you. Your conscience can't be you. You can't have, otherwise you'd be split. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be somebody else that's that's bringing you into task and saying, you know, that wasn't right. Because otherwise, if you're split, you have a split personality, that's, you know, we call that schizophrenia. So a co-perception, there is two states of being, two states of awareness, that are working in cooperation together, and one is calling the other one to account. Well, what is that? It's got to be God. Or it could be the accuser of the brethren, who accuses people night and day, it says. In Revelation, he accuses the saints of God night and day. So we have this accusing voice, but we also have another voice that calls us into account for our daily thoughts, behavior, speaking, whatever.
You know, can you identify the Holy Spirit in one of those voices?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, and you know, Jesus said this very clearly in John chapter 14. When the Spirit of truth has come, he will convict the world of sin. Now that's pretty universal. That does not say he will convict the church. It doesn't say he'll convict religious people. It says he'll convict the world of sin. Now, if the Holy Spirit, think about it for a minute, if the Holy Spirit wasn't universally present in every life, doing that, because Jesus goes on in the next verse to explain the sin that the Holy Spirit is going to convict the whole world of. And the sin that he's going to convict the whole world, it's the same word that John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Now, are you going to qualify that word? Say, well, yeah, but that's not everybody. Yes, it is everybody. It's the world. It means the whole human race. For God so loved the whole human race. And then Jesus said, for God so loved the world. And in John 14, the Holy Spirit will convict the world of sin. And the sin that the Holy Spirit is going to convict them of is this one sin. Because they believe not on me. Now, here's the question. How can the Holy Spirit hold any soul accountable for not believing on Jesus if that soul does not have immediate access to Jesus? I mean, there's no basis to it. The Holy Spirit has nothing to say. He can't go to a soul and say, I'm convicting you of the sin of not believing on Jesus. Well, I never heard about Jesus. Nobody told me about Jesus. It doesn't say that. It says he will convict the whole world of sin. So there has to be a basis on which he can do that. You see what I mean? So they have to have immediate access to Jesus. Otherwise, he couldn't convict them of that. He could convict them of something else, but not that. He could say, well, you're being a bad person. You're not very nice. You killed 10 people now. But it doesn't say he'll convict them of sins of any kind of nature, other than they do not believe on Jesus. Now, how are you going to get around that verse? That has to mean the Holy Spirit is universally present. It means that Jesus is universally present. Otherwise, that verse has no basis upon which to be said or believed.
Well, to say that the Holy Spirit can only speak to Christians and can't speak to the unsaved, he's taking away from his ability, right?
Well, it is taking away from any human of ever becoming a Christian. If the Holy Spirit doesn't convict them.
Making the Holy Spirit less than what he is if we say that he can't speak to an unbeliever.
Exactly. And if none see God on their own, then there's no Christians coming. Nobody ever going to become a Christian. So, I mean, if you just read the words, they're very self-explanatory. They're not complicated. They're not like big long commentary to understand it. It's just like the Holy Spirit, when he's come, his portfolio, his job role, his job description is going to be this. He's going to convict the world of sin. Number one, sin. They do not believe on me. He's going to convict the world of righteousness. Now, it doesn't say Christians there. He's not. The word convict it could be translated convince too. He's going to convince the world of sin, righteousness, and judgment. Of sin, because they do not believe on me. Righteousness, because I go to my Father. And of judgment, because the prince of this world is judged. Now that's the basis on which he's going to convict those for those three things. Because they don't believe on me? Well, they have to somehow have access to Jesus. They have to be at no distance to him. Otherwise, there's no point to the conviction. the Holy Spirit can't hold me accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no basis for saying, you are wrong for not believing on Jesus.
Yeah.
What's the verse again?
I think it's in John chapter 14. I can't remember the exact verse. 14:20. I'm guessing.
All right, I'll look on that.
But, I mean, the verse, he'll convict the world of righteousness because I go to the Father and you see me no more. That's proof right there that Jesus is in every human being. Because the only righteousness available to any human being is Christ. And the only way the Holy Spirit can convince any person of righteousness is that they have immediate access to Jesus as their righteousness. Otherwise, they have none. There isn't any available.
Could you just expand on that? See me no more.
Well, you see, when Jesus left, he said to the disciples, he said, it's expedient for you, or it's more beneficial for you that I go. Because if I do not go away, and the word there in the Greek, it doesn't mean go at a long distance. It simply means to depart. It means to just get out of your sight. So he says, if I don't leave, it's going to be detrimental to you, because he said it's been more beneficial for you that I go. Because if I don't go, the gift, the Comforter, will not be able to come. Well, the Comforter, the only reason the Holy Spirit was coming, was Jesus explained there, that those verses, was to convict the world of sin, righteousness, and judgment. That Jesus is those things. He is righteousness. So, as long as you can see him, like if he's there sitting on the couch, how can George be my righteousness? Because I'm distracted and thinking, well, George is over there. Jesus is there sitting on the couch. But if he gets out of my sight, visibly, then the Holy Spirit's job comes into its true form. He convicts me in the heart. The Holy Spirit is sent into my heart to convict me of the love of God shed abroad in my heart. Well, if it's shed abroad on the couch, it's distracting me from the real issue, right? I can't, because I'm constantly out, thinking outward. And Jesus said, no, I'm going to leave, so when the Holy Spirit comes, his job will really take effect. So you will know who I really am. I'm not simply an external man walking around in a body. I am the life of the human race. I am the life. I am the resurrection and the life. I am life itself. And you're not going to get that if I stay here so you can book me for the next conference. So it's better for you that I go, that I get out of your sight, so that when the Holy Spirit comes to reveal me, you'll get it. You'll understand. Oh yes, I know who he is now. I know who Christ is. He is the life of everyone. He's my life. He's the essence of my being. And then, like Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, from now on we see no man after the flesh, not even Christ. In other words, we do not perceive and behold even Jesus Christ in his externalized outward form now. We see him in his universal body. He is in every soul as their life. And so we're not distracted. And that's why Jesus left. There would be no other benefit for him. I mean, it would be much better if he was here otherwise, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be much better if he just hung around? I mean, what's the point? Why did he leave?
Well, he's easier to identify when he's sitting right there.